Guys, sorry about the technical difficulties. All right, so imagine that you're a coffee farmer in Papua New Guinea. The price that you're paid, your income, can be entirely dependent upon the crop output of a country halfway around the world. In the last 2 years, coffee is traded at prices as high as $3 a pound and for as little as $1 a pound. Imagine a world in which your income could fluctuate up or down by over 100% per year. That could be the difference between a living wage and living a life of poverty. And for many coffee farmers, that's exactly what it is. But let's go back to where this path began, as a seedling at a coffee nursery. What if we took a different approach to growing coffee? And instead of treating it as a commodity where we're interested in producing the absolute most amount of coffee for the least amount of dollars, what if instead our goal was to produce the absolute best tasting cup of coffee? To do that, it begins with the same seedlings in a nursery. But instead of clearing our flat land, we're going to go high up into the mountains to an altitude that is more suitable for coffee. And we're not going to clear cut the land to create the most space, but instead we're going to use the natural habitat and intersperse our coffee trees so that they can take advantage of the shade and protection of those trees. And as a result, we won't need to use pesticides and we'll be able to grow the coffee organically. And when it comes time to harvest, with our coffee trees planted on mountainsides, we won't be able to employ the use of mechanical pickers, but instead we'll hand-pick the ripe cherries. And in order to do this correctly, we must train and pay the harvesters to select only the ripe cherries. They must canvass the coffee fields over and over again, waiting for each coffee cherry to ripen at its own rate. This is a process that takes typically a month and can last as long as 3 months. At that point, the coffee harvest is then carefully processed to sort out foreign material and any unripe defective coffee cherries. And the resulting coffee is then prepared for evaluation by a quality importer or roaster who evaluates the coffee and its quality and assigns it a score on a 100-point scale. The price the farmer receives for his or her coffee at this point is now determined by the score that they receive and the qualitative attributes of their coffee. A higher scoring coffee will result in a higher price per pound to the farmer. And now the farmer's income is not connected to a global exchange, but instead of which he has no control. Instead, it's now based on the quality of his crop and the care and effort he put forth over the last year. But this is not the end of our path. The question is, how do we as consumers create a path that connects us with the quality-focused farmer instead of the commodities-driven one? We must bridge a gap, forge a path between the consumer and producer so that the farmer understands that the price he receives for his coffee is determined by the price the consumer is willing to pay and not by a global exchange. And this is how I ended up paying $14 for a cup of coffee, because I've chosen to walk a different path as a coffee consumer. Through my choices as a consumer, my coffee purchases, I've chosen to promote a global trade based on quality that values the efforts of the producer and creates a virtuous cycle. But so how does paying more create a virtuous cycle? Well, walk with me for a moment down a different path. What if we went to a coffee producing country and created an auction based entirely on quality? And what if we broadcast that auction worldwide through the internet so that quality-minded roasters and consumers would have a chance to bid for this coffee? And to make it enticing and unlike any other auction, what if we limited this to the top 20 best coffees in the world from that country that year? But let's not stop there. Let's agree that the price paid at the auction will go directly back to the farmer, with no middleman. Well, we just come up with a bold and audacious way to change the way coffee is bought and sold in the global market. Difficult to create? Maybe. But impossible? No. In fact, this system already exists. And one example of this system is the Cup of Excellence program that began in Brazil in 1999. In its first year, less than a dozen coffees met the quality requirements to participate in the auction, and organizers were unable to get the 20 farms that they had originally intended. But nevertheless, the auction garnered worldwide attention as coffee roasters directly bid on the top 8 coffees from Brazil. The coffee sold at this auction set records, and the impact that this had for the farmers who participated was phenomenal. They received a price per pound for coffee that they had never received, much higher than they had ever received before. And as a result, were able to secure their land for future generations or invest in capital equipment to continuously improve the quality of their crop. But the impact of this auction went far beyond those initial farms that participated. As word spread about an auction that was based on quality, interest in the auction grew, and the following year, organizers of the competition easily met their 20-farm goal. And whereas at first organizers could not find enough high-quality farms to participate in the auction, as of 2013, more farms are rejected from this competition than are entered in to participate. So instead of being paid a price per pound that fluctuates wildly from year to year, these farmers in Brazil have seen their earnings steadily increase over the years as they have worked to consistently improve the quality of their crop. And that's how I ended up paying $14 for a cup of coffee. So where do we go from here? Maybe you're not a coffee drinker, or maybe you'll never consider buying a $14 cup of coffee. But what we've talked today isn't just about coffee. This is about the choices we make as a consumer in a global economy. The choices we make determine the path we walk. And today, I'm asking you to consider what path you're taking as a consumer. Are you walking a path of quality or one of convenience? You can only walk one path at a time in this world, but the direction you take is entirely up to you. Will you choose to run down that path as conveniently as possible? Or will you choose to embrace quality and savor every minute of the journey? I'm here today to encourage you all to choose the path of quality and to enjoy every minute of it, even if it does cost $14 for a cup of coffee. Thank you.